2014 is done, with nothing left to offer us. So beat it, 2014! You're old news, mate! With that in mind, 2015 is shaping up to be one of the biggest years in film that we've ever seen. So here are my top 5 most anticipated blockbusters of this year, bearing in mind that these will also be the best and most successful films of the year. Because, as you may not be aware, I'm from the future. But seriously, don't tell anyone? Not that I'm worried you will, because I already know that you won't. Because as mentioned, I am from the future. First up, at number 5, we have Jurassic World. In all honesty, mostly because I'm curious to see how all this turns out. I mean, I like the director, even though he's never worked on something of this size. The cast is solid. There's promise of new and returning dinosaurs. And there's that bit with the big, snappy dinosaur fish, and he's all, give me the shark. That's pretty good. But still, it's been 14 years since the last one, and over 20 years since the first. Which makes me wonder, is there enough steam left in this franchise to sustain it? Hopefully, especially if they hit that right balance of something old mixed with something new. At number 4, we've got Tomorrowland, a movie that not many people are talking about, probably because we don't know that much about it. Plus, it's not a sequel or based off a comic or young adult novel, and it has that girl from Under the Dome in it, which, by the way, is a terrible series based off a mediocre book. Just get out of the bloody dome already or shut up about it! I mean, 3 seasons of being under a dome? No one cares! Anyways, its director Brad Bird hasn't made a bad movie. Not only that, he turned down Star Wars to make this film, which means at the very least, he thinks it's great, and that probably counts for something. At number 3, we have Kingsman, which actually lands about a month from now, and that is fantastic news. Not only is it based off a pretty decent comic, and directed by Matthew Vaughn, who, like Bird, has a pretty bulletproof record, it's already receiving some pretty great reviews. The best part about it is, though, aside from the fact that it looks awesome, is that it's hitting in a month of the year where films are normally sent to die, like some kind of cinematic elephant graveyard. Now maybe number 3 is a little high on the list for Kingsman, but to me, Matthew Vaughn films are event films. You always know you're in for something different, something a little cheeky, and something that has a woman with prosthetic razor legs cutting off people's limbs. You know, like in all these other films. At number 2, we have Age of Ultron that looks amazing and probably will be. We have no reason to think it wouldn't. Marvel has built this awesome interconnected universe unlike anything we've seen before in cinema, raising the bar for what people expect from their comic book movies. Joss Whedon returns as director, who again, we have no reason to distrust. He's probably storing all sorts of crazy ideas in that big ol' head of his. Plus, we're getting more Hulk, what looks like a genuinely terrifying villain, Vision, and something fans have been clamoring to see for years, the Hulkbuster armor. And you know, there'll probably be other cool stuff also. This is guaranteed to make over $1 billion without question. And by the looks of things, it deserves every cent of it. Before I get to my number 1, here are some movies that I am looking forward to, but didn't include in my top 5 because, well, who cares, I guess? I'm just some lunatic in a virtually empty room, just yelling into a microphone by myself. Alright, Chappie, Neil Blomkamp's follow-up to Elysium and District 9. Looks promising. Furious 7. This franchise is somehow good now? Let's see how it fares under James Wan and a lot of CGI Paul Walker. Star Wars. Looks pretty neat. Mad Max Fury Road. Looks pretty nuts. Ant-Man. Although I have my reservations about how this will turn out, I still think there's a great chance that it'll be pretty good. Terminator Genisys. Though I am skeptical, hopefully this will surprise us. Spectre, the film that promises to be the most Bond, Daniel Craig Bond that we've seen. Pixar's Inside Out, trailer looks great. Mission Impossible 5. Now I can't imagine how it will be better than 4, but here's hoping. The Fantastic Four. That's right, we're getting a Fantastic Four movie this year. Despite major reservations, I'm trying to hold off judgment till we see something, you know, other than a leaked photo of a robot covered in melted garbage bags. Oh, Ex Machina. This looks amazing. So much so that even though I forgot about it until this point, it's now my number 4. You're out, Jurassic World. And lastly, probably Pixels, because I like the short film it's based on, even though it has Adam Sandler in it. But my number 1 most anticipated movie is the Entourage movie. Finally, we get to see what the gang's been up to. Vinny, Ari, E, Tortoise Boy, Matt Dillon's mentally challenged brother. That guy who became the target of every racial and homophobic slur imaginable that for some reason we've just come to see as acceptable things that a person can say to another person? All of them. They're all back. No, obviously, this isn't my real choice. My number 1 is actually Star Wars The Force Awakens. I just mentioned it briefly before so I could pull off this not very elaborate deception. The thing about this movie is, I really didn't want to put it at number 1, as it just seems like the obvious choice. And of course, we've all been burnt by Star Wars before. Plus, I'm not super confident in J.J. Abrams as its director. But I just want to see more Star Wars, and not another prequel, but a continuation of the story. Something we don't know the ultimate outcome of, where after we reach it, the audience collectively sighs, finally, now we know how Darth Vader became the blah blah blah. Oh hey, there's the Death Star, it all ties in together. This is something new, with the old characters and new characters. Anything could happen. And look, I'd imagine the end result will be people going, well, it was better than the prequels, but I still like the originals. Also, why did they get rid of the expanded universe? Shut up! I just want to see more Star Wars. And I know that sounds ridiculous, and I know there's a likelihood that I will be disappointed, but what if I'm not? What if this is the greatest movie ever made? What if I'm on my deathbed, hopefully years from now, and I take the hands of my closest family members and I draw them in and I say, I saw Star Wars in 2015 and it was fucking amazing. You all pale in comparison. I'm glad I'm dying because the fact that none of you even come close to J.J. Abrams' Star Wars The Force Awakens disgusts me. Now beat it, I'll say. And as my family file out of the room with their heads hung in shame, I'll be left with the comforting thoughts of that weird ball droid and that stormtrooper people keep insisting has ruined the series. And then, just as I'm about to quietly slip away, with a smile on my face, the blue ghost of J.J. Abrams will appear. And he'll be all inexplicably young again, and as I remember him in my youth, and I'll throw him a knowing wink. But realistically, I'll probably not be able to stop myself from taking one final cheap shot at him for that time he told us that it wasn't Khan, and then it totally was Khan? You're a dickhead, Abrams, I'll whisper, as the light fades out of my eyes. And in that moment, I'll have won. I'll have won life! So I guess that's the end of this video. And don't forget, I have a podcast. It's called The Weekly Planet. It's out every Monday, and it's about comics and TV shows and movies. People like it, I guess. I'll link it below if you care. And if you want to throw in a sweet iTunes rating, that'd be super nice of you. Most anticipated movies of the year, though, for you, what are they? Let me know in the comments, because honestly, I'd love to know. All right, thanks everyone. Take care.